So should you still get a Nintendo Switch? The Nintendo Switch has been out for quite a while now. It's been out since 2017, which is crazy hard to believe that it's been out that long, but our buddy here, the Switch, is getting towards the end of its lifetime, and a new Nintendo console is on the horizon. But I think right now is still a great time to get the Switch. There's still a good amount of games coming out for the Switch. I'm talking first-party titles, ports, great indie games. But today we're gonna go over the console options you have for the Switch, some of the must-have games, reasons you might wanna get a Switch, ultimately which model is right for you. We'll go over where I think the future of the Switch is and kind of the staying power and the longevity of this console. And yeah, this is, in my opinion, has been Nintendo's most successful console of all time. I think it will continue to sell for years to come. Yeah, let's get right into it. This is gonna be a fun one. First up on the Switch models, we have the Switch Lite, which is definitely a lower cost model. You can't dock it, but I will say it's pretty portable. One thing I will say about the Switch Lite is I think the retail price of $199 is definitely a little steep, especially for the current year. So if you can scoop one of these up locally for a deal, maybe bundle it up with some games, I see these under $150, $140 all day long locally. But yeah, I think the Switch Lite is a solid option if you just want to dip your toes into the Switch library. And next up here, we have my model of the Switch, which is the OG Switch. Does not have an OLED screen, but I think the screen that it does have still looks pretty good. Not as portable as the Lite, not as premium feeling as the OLED. If I was in the market for a Switch today, I personally would be looking at the OLED. This is the Switch model that you'll typically see bundled in stores now, and you can usually find pretty good deals on it online or locally, but not a bad option. But like I said, you might want to just shell out the extra money and get an OLED if possible. And here we go with the Switch OLED. This is, the most premium model available, at least as of now. It has a larger display, better sound from what I've heard. Now, if you've never owned a Nintendo Switch before and you're looking to get into the market for one, I would say the OLED is probably your best bet. It's going to be the most premium feeling system of the bunch. It'll have the largest screen and it will have the best looking display as well. All right, so now the fun part, we get to talk about some of the best games or must-have games on the system. So if you haven't been paying attention to the Switch at all since its release, this system has had banger after banger, great release after great release of first-party Nintendo games, and it's basically just been a port machine. Whether that's PS3 and 360 era games being ported to the system, like Red Dead recently, LA Noire, Skyrim, games like that, you won't have a shortage of those era of games. The PS3 and 360 era games were HD. They were the first HD era of games, and I think run great on a Switch. But let's jump into the games I have and some recommendations that I think are worthwhile on the system. So first up here, new release, we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I'm almost done with this game, and it's the first Super Mario game that I've actually played since New Super Mario Bros. DS back in the day. Yeah, the first one. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder, great game. I got this for $39 off the Home Shopping Network about like a month ago, something like that, used a coupon. And I'm enjoying it. This is a new release, great graphics, super fun gameplay. And if you can get it, I think it's worth adding to the collection, some new fresh abilities, and it's a first party Nintendo game. Next up in the Mario realm, we have Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So this has Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. When this originally came out, it was supposed to be like a limited release. Super fun to have these 3D Mario games on the go. If you can get it for cheap, I'd say pick it up, but resellers have really kind of shot this one up since it was limited. I mean, this was in stores for hella long. I mean, you had your chance to get it. If you didn't, you missed out pretty much. Breath of the Wild, not too much more I can say about Breath of the Wild. This was on Wii U as well, but was an early title on the Switch. I think it holds up really well. If you like Zelda, obviously you've probably played this game and beaten it and put tons of hours into it. But even if you aren't a Zelda fan, I think this one is still worth checking out. This is a bit of a hidden gem in my opinion. It's Pocky and Rocky reshrined. So this is an old school series. I believe this originally came out on the Super Nintendo, and this is a great game, super challenging. It's definitely a little under the radar. You can get this on PS4 as well if you don't want to pay for it on Switch. I think it's a little cheaper on PS4, but These are the kind of games that you can expect to get on Switch. You can get tons of indie games, old school ports and releases like this. They have tons of, shoot 'em ups, shmups. The Switch has really been a great console to explore, different games that I otherwise wouldn't have played unless it was on a Switch. Animal Crossing New Horizons. This game absolutely popped off a few years back and really helped the Switch get quite a bit of sales. I didn't play this a ton, but my girlfriend sank a ton of time into it. If you like Animal Crossing, you'll like this. So yeah, not much more I can say about it, but yeah, I would say it's probably a must-have for most people. Here we go, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. This is an iffy one. It's a remake of the Gen 4 Pokemon games. Personally, I liked it, but this game is constantly on sale for like, under 30 bucks. If you want that old school Pokemon feel, I think it's worth getting. I know a lot of people hate on it, but I actually liked this game quite a bit. Pokemon Scarlet, this game, another semi-new-ish release. It's a fun game. It does run pretty bad. I'm sure if you've watched any Switch videos online, you've watched gameplay of this and been like, how did they release that game? And I'll leave it at that. If you like Pokemon, it's worth picking up, but if you've never played a Pokemon game before, you might not want to start with this one. Civilization game, got this on sale, 2-3 years ago too. Haven't played this a ton, but yeah, got it for cheap, and it's another fun game to have on the go. And Overcooked, this is another fun game that, is good for multiplayer, playing by yourself, but it's good for, some couch co-op. There's so many great games that you can get on the Switch, like I said, from titles like Red Dead Redemption that just came out, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, fun party games like Mario Kart and Smash. There's tons of indie releases. I think, kind of the huge selling point on getting a Switch, in the current year is the library for it is absolutely insane. I know Nintendo games don't go on sale a ton, so collecting for the Switch can be a little pricey. But if this is the only system you have, or, if you don't have a system and you're thinking of scooping it up, you won't have a shortage of games to find or play. So now we'll talk about some controller options that you have on the Switch, which there's plenty. Obviously, you can play the system, how it is, just like this in handheld mode, and you'll have the Joy-Cons attached to the side, which is totally fine. And this is how I play my Switch, I'd say, 90-95% of the time. You can take the Joy-Cons off this model of the Switch and actually use them as controllers. This is really nice if you're playing some multiplayer games like Mario Kart or something like that. And if you want a more traditional controller feel, boom, you can attach your Joy-Cons in here. And I'm not the biggest fan in the world of this setup, but it does work. It's comfortable and, it gets the job done. And right here we have the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, which I know a lot of people love the Pro Controller. It feels good in hand. It's good quality. The buttons are really responsive. But like I said, 90-95% of the time, I'm playing my Switch handheld. I'm hanging out, playing it in bed or on the couch if someone's watching TV. But, if I wanted a more traditional console type controller, the Pro Controller is definitely a great option. This part of the video I was really looking forward to, and I could honestly almost make this part just into an entire video of its own, right? And that is the future of the Nintendo Switch, the future of this system. With us being, this deep into the Switch, with us being this deep into the Switch's life, with the rumors getting, more and more frequent of the new Nintendo system, is it worth getting? And I say 1000% yes. Like, if I could only have one system right now, I'm a diehard PlayStation fan, diehard Sony guy. I love my PS3, I love my PS5, but it would maybe be the Switch. And the reason why is the library for it is absolutely insane. The indie support for it's great. Nintendo is still releasing great games. They just dropped Mario RPG, Super Mario Bros. Wonder's recent, Tears of the Kingdom was semi-recent, and you have some good games ahead in the new year. Obviously, I think first-party releases are gonna slow down a bit like they always do towards the end of a system's life, but that's fine. You'll still have some new titles to look forward to here and there. You'll have some ports, you'll have some indie games that drop that you might wanna have some fun with, but it gives you time to explore, older games on the system that were great games like Animal Crossing, Breath of the Wild. Maybe you didn't get around to Mario Kart or Smash Bros. Or some other of the hidden gems on the console. And that's why it's really cool to jump into a system kind of towards the end of its life. Now for buying a Switch right now, I would say probably stray away from the model I have unless you get an absolute steal on it. If you can, I would say, hey, drop the dough and get an OLED. I think an OLED is worth it. I love OLED displays. They look amazing. Not that this display, on my OG Switch looks bad by any means. I think it still looks pretty good, but if you're gonna shell out the money, shell out, another 40, 50 bucks and get an OLED. If you're strictly only wanting to play the Switch portable in handheld mode and really have no aspirations to hook it up to a TV or anything, maybe go with the Switch Lite. I think the Switch Lite is still a pretty good option, and you can get them for dirt cheap locally, like through Marketplace and OfferUp and stuff. Pricing wise, I hope eventually when Nintendo's still selling these new, that they do drop the price a bit, because I think Switch Lites are still $199 brand new, which is a little steep in my opinion. The model I have is like $299 brand new, which I also think is kind of steep, and then the OLED is even more. So if you want to go the used route, that's pretty much the only way you'll be able to score a deal, especially with how Nintendo tends to operate normally. Long-term use, if you're like, hey, I don't have a console, or hey, I want to drop a couple $100, but am I going to be screwed if I buy this system right now? No, I don't think you'll be screwed at all. You'll still get new releases. And I think the Switch is one of those systems that's gonna have a ton of staying power. With Nintendo essentially changing the game and having this be, the all-in-one system and having it just be extremely popular. Like I said earlier, the library is absolutely insane. You'll continue to have new releases, at least for a little while. I know some of the newer ports like Mortal Kombat was pretty bad, to say the least. But you have tons of games to choose from. The online play is there. You can of course play the Switch online, so it's fun to link up with your, boys, link up with some family or friends that are far away, hop on and play a game together. But one thing I will say, and I'm not gonna, try to beat around this at all and just defend the Switch, it is aging hardware. It's an older system. Getting newer games on it is gonna be more and more difficult, and we're already starting to see that with certain ports. I know I'll have some Nintendo people in the comments be like, bro, what are you talking about? Certain games still look great ported on it. To an extent, but it's already, I feel like, limiting certain games. If you look at Hogwarts Legacy, that game was, definitely trimmed down from the, console counterparts, right? I think it still looks good, but it was definitely trimmed down to work on the Switch. Overall, I think the Switch is still a buy. I got mine back in March of 2021, so I haven't had it since it launched, but I love it. I play it basically every day. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video, guys. Hope that you liked it. As usual, appreciate the support, and we'll catch you soon with another upload.